Greetings and good evening. We want to thank each and every one of us for being here at this wonderful space, the Core Spa Wellness Center. During the little intermission, we would invite everybody to walk through and to be able to see all that Sister Noni has here or offers to bring the community. It's an awesome wellness space. She has numerous different modalities available in space for us here in this side of the community. And I'm an East Point resident, so I'm glad she's here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, our teacher this evening. Brother Lovell Rowser Jr. is originally from everywhere. He is universal. So then I said to him, but brother, where was you born? And he said, Demopolis, Alabama. All right, everybody.
Hallelujah in the name of Jesus.
All right, on the map. From there, he traveled to, can I say it because I'm a Shaw University alumni, Hampton, Virginia, a graduate of Hampton University. And from there, he's been a resident of Atlanta for over 40 years. So Lovell was formerly trained as a scribe, also known as a film and journalist major. And there are many of us here who are familiar with him and his work and his gifts as the Enumerator. So one who at a very young age became aware of his gifts of being different as related to not only numbers, but his connection with the ancestors. He's been a professional in the field of numerology since 1982. And I can go on and on talking about Lovell, but I think that nobody can represent us better than we can represent ourselves. So Lovell, here you go.
Well, thank you everyone for coming out. We do appreciate you. I'd like to thank the ancestors for bringing us together. I'd like to thank the ancestors for seeing that the sister has a vision to have a place like this where we can come, be here, and join together in serving each other on the highest level of possible entertainment at this time. Now, to finish what Sister La just shared with you, my early beginnings with numerology began actually on this exact date. I remember it very clearly, June 6, 1966. And the reason why I remember it so is because I had a teacher. I was in the 6th grade, and she was an exchange teacher, and she had lived in Egypt, Kemet, Tom Mary, as Dr. Ben would say. And she explained to us about the pyramids. And we're starting to become a little energized about the pyramids. But then when she said the magical word to me, numerology, it was like a force, it was like a power just overtook me. And I jumped out of my chair in the classroom, threw my hand up, and said, I know about that, I know about that. Well, as I gradually began to sit down, I started looking around and I said, I don't know about any numerology. Okay, where did that come from? And so that's my formal origins in terms of beginning my study and interest. In the class, of course, she went and she started telling us about the relationship with the pyramids and numbers, and I found it to be very fascinating, to the point that at that particular time in 1966, growing up in the Baptist church, it really wasn't looked upon too well, but I had a further understanding of the numbers because of the barbershop that I went to, which was the community barbershop in Norwalk, Connecticut, if anyone's familiar. And in the community barbershop, the proprietor's name was Mr. Jimmy Tisdale. Well, if you wanted to go play your number, that's who you went to see. And so as when Mr. Tisdale would be cutting my hair, people would come in and they throw up their numbers and whatnot, and he'd write it down on a little rice paper. As I remember one time, the police came in. I was having my hair cut by Mr. Tisdale. And I didn't know at the time, but I later found out that this is what they called back then the policy players did. They would write the numbers down on rice paper. And as you know, if you place the rice paper in your mouth, it dissolves. Okay? So that's one of the ways that our people stay out of trouble with the police, because the police had nothing to do, had no evidence in order to support a case against them. But even with that, there was a store, it was a bookstore. And at the time I didn't know it was a metaphysical bookstore, because it was next to a health food store that my mother at times would frequent. You know, when we got sick, you know, she went over there to get some of the old remedies, the herbs, and so on and so on and so on. And so I seen this book, and it was on numerology. The book at that time was only 35 cents. So I saved up my nickels, dimes, and quarters so I could get the numerology book, and I would start scanning it and put the book back in my book satchel and going about my business. So that was another way that I started doing the numerology, so I became very familiar with the numbers. And there were certain numbers that I had a certain affinity with and a certain camaraderie with. And so when I started playing sports, there was always certain numbers that I wanted to wear. And the numbers, of course, that I wore that had an affinity with me, those were the times that I played my best and was at my best. And when I look back at it, when I look back some of my yearbooks from junior high and high school, I realized that I was wearing the right number on the right day with the right vibration, doing the right performance in track, basketball, football, whatever. So I realized that there was something to the numbers and their vibrations. So by the time I got to college, I wanted to take it even further, in which I did. And so by the time I moved to Atlanta in 1977, I really wanted to be interested in numerology, because at the time that I got here, I was unemployed. Okay? So the period that I was unemployed, I was going around to different bookstores, what they call trade-in bookstores at that time, and buying books for $1 and so forth and so on. So a lot of my numerology books I acquired and accumulated. I spent no more than $1, $1.50, $2 at the most. And I read and I studied and I read, and then I began to share and apply it with family members. Sister Deborah, I used a lot of time and energy with her, looking at her numerology background chart, as well as myself. And so it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And people would come back and say, you know, there's something to them numbers, brother, you know, this, that, and the other. So by the time the 80s came around, that's when I said, people were telling me, this is something that you need to do. And so that's when I embarked on the numerology. And so ever since then, every day of my life, I'm looking at the numbers, I'm looking at the vibrations, I'm paying attention to everything. Addresses, street addresses, house numbers, numbers of presidents, just everything imaginable I would collect, read, and study to familiarize myself with, and also to be able to verify that this was factual and true. Then, when I began to get into our culture more, there was a particular store that some of y'all may remember if you've been in Atlanta that long, called Hakim's Bookstore. And Hakim's Bookstore had a lot of books by Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinu, and other African historians. But there was one particular book by Dr. Ben where he was talking about numerology and the pyramids. And I started getting a recollection. I said, well, this is the same thing that the teacher that I had back in June 6th of 1966 was telling me. So I was really ready to go and really to embark on numerology and just really share it as much as I possibly could. Now, from 77 until now, I've done a lot of work, done a lot of study, done a lot of research. And what I would like to share with you tonight is the fact that the numbers, the vibrations are real. They are living vibrations. They are living vibrations which have been discovered. They have been discovered by our ancestors according to a brilliant and great numerologist in New York by the name of Lloyd Strayhorn, more than 450,000 years ago. And I have to agree with him. Now, most of the information that we are privy to about numerology comes from a particular character, a particular person of history by the name of Pythagoras. Okay? And Pythagoras' names means homage to Ptah, the god Ptah, out of the Egyptian Kemetic Ptolemaic pantheon. Now, Pythagoras was given an opportunity of studying in Egypt for a little over 20 years. Now, to become a master at that time, you had to go through the mystery school system for a period of 40 years. So it was just over a little bit more than half the time that was required of a master, or to become a master, did Pythagoras accumulate his knowledge. However, what I'm saying to you, if so much information, fact, evidence is produced about Pythagoras, and he only went 20 years, what happened to the other 20 years of knowledge, profound knowledge that can be given? It's still a secret. As much work and research as I have done, I'm still doing a lot of fact finding and finding out that there's an enormous wealth of information on the numbers. And when I say the numbers, I'm speaking in terms of a plurality of spirituality. Okay, it's very vast. Now, Pythagoras gave the world a lot of information. Now, I'm not disputing that. I'm not downgrading or minimize his contribution to the world. And early in my studies, I had to shake him out of my hand. I said, well, this cat, he knew some things. He also took the system of numbers and also attributed it to sound and music, okay? The entire structure of the musical scale. When we get to Beethoven or Bach or Chopin and all those people, or Duke Ellington, okay? We can understand the structure and the nature of the power that is hidden within the numbers. And I'm saying all of this to say to you, there is a great, enormous power that is hidden within the vibration of your birthday and also within the vibration of the name. Whatever name that you are using, if it's different from the name that you were born with, that's okay. You understand the vibration because every letter has a very corresponding number vibration, and every number has a corresponding letter vibration. Now, in old antiquity, only letters were used because the power of numbers were held for those who were into the study of the vibrations or going through the 40-year system of mystery schools. And when I say 40-year system, and I'm going to draw upon this so you can get a better understanding. When you were born, our ancestors had priests and priestesses to come and visit you. They looked at you, they looked at the time of day you were born, the day you were born, and so on and so on and so on. If the number 7 appeared, they said, look, we got one here. They went to the family, they said, look, we want to take this person in and have them to study with us for the next 40 years. Okay? Now, if you take 40 years and add it to 7, you reach the age of 47. There's a postulate that is used in mathematics today, and it's called the 47th Euclidean problem. Okay, so that's how that originated. It originated from our culture, from our system from our know-how of being able to educate our people. And when our people were educated, they had to go out back into the community that they came from to help and heal others. Okay? So in that identification, we can identify right now the vibration of each and every single soul in this room, tell you what you need to do, how you need to do it, where you need to go do it, so forth, so forth, so forth, and everything. It should not be a mystery. There is a group of people, and I'm not knocking them. There is a group of people on this planet. They start with their children at the age of 13. Okay? I think some of y'all know what I'm leading into. And we've referred to these people as the Jews. Okay? The so-called Jews, I call them. They start their young folks at the age of 13. At the age of 13, they start studying what they call the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is nothing more than a system of numbers and letters, just like numerology, that they utilize to give instruction as to the direction that that particular soul is going to have in their society. And so I'm here to share with you tonight so that you can get an idea as to what you can do or what we can do to start giving our youth some instruction as to who they are and the power that they have in order to be who they are. Okay? Now, we're in the year of 2019. Now, I go on a lot of chat rooms with a lot of people from all around the world, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, all the social media platforms. And there's a great dispute as to what year we're in. Okay? And in this dispute, a lot of disagreements, a lot of flare-ups, so forth and so on. I think all of us realize that the world is not 2019 years old. Okay, we know that. What I'm trying to get people to understand is a reference point or point of reference, okay, in terms of understanding and knowing what the cycles are. Okay? Because some people who belong to some secret societies will say, well, in their secret societies, it's not 2019, it's 6019. Okay? So, and then you have other cultures that have different calendars and so on and so on. But what I'm basing this on is based on what we call the Gregorian calendar system. And no, the Gregorian calendar system is not European. The Gregorian calendar system of 365 and a quarter days within a year came from our ancestors because they had more than 18 different calendars that they utilized within the system of 365 and a quarter days. You can look at this particular calendar that the United States of America is using as a civil calendar. Okay, all of the goods, services, and commerce comes under this calendar system. Okay, now when one wants to move into a more, what they call spiritually enlightened calendar system, well, that requires a whole lot more study. Now, I understand that there's, a lot of our folks that are spiritually inclined, and they say that there's other calendar systems which admonishes this one. I come up under the rule and guide of work with what you got. When you can work with what you got and master that, maybe collectively we'll be given more and more insight about these other calendars. Okay, but for now, I base all of my calculations, all of my delineations, based on the calendar system that each and every one of us have to use each and every day. Be it correct, right, wrong, incorrect, whatever. Okay, so I just want to clarify that because I know that may be on the minds of some people who are present. Okay? Now, since we are in the year of 2019, we can look at the science of numerology from this standpoint. In numerology, every number from 0 to 9 has a particular vibration. Now, these vibrations are not something that are arbitrary. It's not something that evolved. It is a method. It is a body of knowledge that our ancestors always knew. Now, those folks who are outside of our kinship, they don't seem to be able to quite grasp that concept and ability about us, okay? Which is fine. But I'm not going to labor, I'm not going to search and find and try to figure out, well, how do these numbers work? I remember had a conversation with Brother Lloyd Strayhorn a long time ago, back in the late 80s. I said, well, Brother Lloyd, how does this work? He said, brother, I don't know. All I can tell you is that they work. Okay. And he said, all I can tell you, even more than that, is that it is our ancestors who put it together. And after my years of study, I have to agree with him. I really don't know how they work. But when I have challenged it, I have seen the repercussions of it. And I'll never do that again. Okay? So I'm here to say to you, don't trust me, put it to the test after you learn the methods. That's all. Okay? Now, in the science of numerology, we find that the numbers, as I said before, all have a particular vibration. Okay? And I'll start off with the number 1. Now, if I need to write it down, please say it, because I'm a talker more than a writer. When you're dealing with the energy, okay, let's start with 0. 0 is what we call the unmanifested vibration. It represents potential. Okay. The number 1, it represents what we call unity, right, as in unity consciousness. There was a great figure, Pharaoh, in the 18th dynasty. He came up with a system which was called the Law of One, and that was Akhenaten. Okay? And because he did that, he was written out of history. Well, secretly he studied, but objectively he was written out of history. Everything about him was written. Okay? So remember the Law of One. The Law of One states that everything comes from the One. Okay, so everything that I'm about to tell you comes from the One. Okay, but remember also that there's something before the One. Now, what's before the One is that 0. And that 0 represents powerful feminine force and energy. Okay, everything comes from the soul. We all birth from that particular womb. And when you get to 1, it becomes a circle with a dot. And that's where you get your unity or unity consciousness from. All right? And then the next number, well, I'm using the symbols. That's 1. Then the next number is 2. 2 is a number that represents duality. Everything has an opposite. In this physical reality that we live in, everything has an opposite. Now, the next number, which I'm going to stop at, is the number 3. The number 3 is the union of the first 2. The number 1 represents the masculine, the number 2 represents the feminine. The feminine and masculine joined together creates this number 3, which we call in numerology the union of opposites. Okay? Now, that brings us to this 2019.
3 stands for what again? What does 3 stand for?
3 stands for the union of opposites. Three also stands for reconciliation. Now, in numerology, when we want to find what we call the universal year vibration or universal year cycle, we take each digit with this number and we add them horizontally across. 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 9 is 12. Okay, that's one number. From there, we take the 12, we add the 2 digits again. 1 plus 2 is 3. And that's the number that we are dealing with for the calendar year of 2019. Now, what does that mean? That means that we, because of our position, status, locale on this planet Earth, are all under this yearly vibration. Okay, whether you know this or not know this, the number 3 will have a great bearing and influence upon your life. Okay? Now, the number 3 as a cycle year is the number of manifestation. One of 3's attributes is or the power of the word or the power of the spoken word. Now I put those 2 up there because I would like for everyone to understand that every action, every word that you say during this cycle of 2019 will have a profound effect on your individual life, that of your family, that of your community, that of your collective, that of your group, that of whatever people you associate with. Okay? Our words can be the cause for our manifestation of whatever we desire, hope for, and expect to achieve in 2019. Okay? There is no separation between what we say, what we put out there in the world, in nature, in the ethos, and what is going to be manifested. Now, the number 3 is a very quick, what we call quick moving vibration because its element is fire. Okay? And when you take fire and heat it up, you cause a lot of more activity, a lot more action to be stirred up. And so each and every one of us, we need to be very clear, concise, succinct with our words and how we direct them and say them to each other. Okay? That's very important because there's a whole lot of things that's going on in this planet right now. And that if we expect to excel and to achieve and to accelerate socially, spiritually, and otherwise, we need to get a very good, strong hold and handle on what we say and how we say it to each other. Now, if all of us, or some of us, or none of us have disagreement with each other, that's fine. But realize this, that what you say is going to have a profound effect on your life and those people who are in your circle. Okay. Power of the word and power of manifestation in simple. Okay. If there can be a solution to a problem, if there can be a solution to a discord that is happening between 2 or more people, by all means sit down and have a conversation. But one thing that you do want to stay away from it'll be the killer. Gossip. Okay. See, the number 3 is a very magnanimous vibration. What I mean by that, you just add a little juice, a little sauce to it. It mushrooms, it blows up, as the young folks say. Okay? Now, the gossip can take on a whole lot. Now, we have seen that already with a couple situations that have started. I'm going to use this as an example. I'm not going to go into it, but I want to touch upon it so you can get a better idea, a very clear picture. We all know what has transpired with our brother R. Kelly, Robert Sylvester Kelly. Okay? And there's a reason why. We are in the year of the number 3. The documentary or the movie or whatever they call it, it came out in a cycle of the number 3. And on his birthday, on the 8th, he moved into a number 3 cycle for his personal year. So that's why all of this energy is stirred up. That's why there's a big hoopla surrounding him. Although some of us have been knowing his going-ons for what, the last 20 years? But it has taken height. It has taken a lot of action. It has taken on a lot of energy. It has stirred up the emotions of a great number of people. Now this can be good if we work with it in a positive manner. But if we let it get out of hand, it can become very destructive to the psyche of many. Okay? Now, the reason why I say that is because, I mentioned emotions, because there are several numbers that deal with emotional energy. That's the number 2, the number 3, I put underline that, the number 6, the number 9, and the number 11. Okay? Well, these 2 numbers, the 2 and the 3, are important to know, because the year that we just came out, which was 2018, it added up to the number 2. So that was an emotional year. Everyone that I spoke to, it was a very trying, emotional year for most people I know. Well, the emotional energy maintains itself in 2019, okay? 2019 has the 3, this is a number 3, so this means, once again, we're gonna deal with a lot of emotional energy. The beauty, though, is that we can reconcile a lot of the pent-up emotional energy that is in us. Now, if one chooses, that will happen. If one chooses not to reconcile and to release the anger that can be stored up in a person's body, then they're going to have some health problems or go through a health crisis. And a health crisis can involve the area of the body known as the liver, because the number 3 rules the liver. Okay? Then, said the power of the spoken word. And so the number 3 also has rulership with the organ of speech, which the thyroid is near. Okay? So the thyroid is another area that you want to pay attention to. And then the eyes are connected to the liver, so you can start having vision problems. Okay? So all these things are tied into the vibrations of the number 3. And see, this is the knowledge that our ancestors used to lay down when they would do a reading for the year, as you know, with our culture still does. But I'm just doing it with the numbers, with the vibrations. I know that some of you have probably already received or gotten readings from other ancient African traditional cultures, religions, and come up with similar body of information. But what I like about the numbers help to explain a whole lot as to why things are happening. And that we have to be the ones to get a hold and master these vibrations so that we can master our lives and help to master the conditions around us so we don't always be in a reactionary type of situation all the time, always reacting. You know, I used to wonder, why are we always reacting? Because we got a whole lot of stored up, pent up energy in us. That's why we're reacting. Okay. There's a friend of mine, he has coined a phrase that knowledge protects, ignorance endangers. And I asked him to break it. I kept asking him, I said, man, you gotta break that down for me. You know, it sounds good, but you know, what does it mean? He was saying that the more knowledge that you can acquire, he said that erases all the fear and all the negative emotions and so forth and so on. And so what you used to be afraid of, you're going with fear. What you used to think you couldn't do, now you can do it because you got the knowledge to go with it. Okay. So that's number 3. Now the number 3 is also a very versatile number. It is the most versatile of all the number vibrations. Individuals or people that you know that have the number 3, they're very versatile. They're very capable of accomplishing a whole lot in their lifetime. One of the attributes of the number 3 person you can identify quickly, I know you're gonna laugh, they talk all the time. Okay? Yes, I have some 3s. I got 3 3s in my name. Okay, so, but there's some 3s where they can't go. They got to have 2 cell phones. Okay? So the power of the number 3 also is tied in with the power of our imagination. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Because what I have seen with the technology, especially with the technology in the hands of our young people, is that they have lost their sense of imagination. Sometimes I will grab it and say, look, tell me what you think. You know, once they get on that Galaxy 15, 25, whatever they got out there, they can tell you everything, but in terms of being able to imagine themselves, they have a very difficult time. And imagination leads to our creativity. And so our creativity is tied into, a lot of it is tied into the arts. And see, 3 is the number that rules the arts. And so we got to take that back, especially with our music. This is a great time for artists of all kinds. And so my challenge has been to every artist that I know, say, look, man, you got to put the music back in its right scope. You know, we steered away from that music because being a person of the 60s and 70s, that was the driving force behind all the protest movements, like power movements, civil rights movements, so on going on down the line. There was always some bad music that was kicking. Okay, even with the gospel music, it was kicking real strong. So we got to get back with the music. Okay, and so that's another thing to identify with the power of the number 3. I share with you a finding of mine. This brother was a genius, and by the way, the number 3 is the number of the genius. Brother Maurice White put together Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we still listening to their music today. Sister Deborah and I went to a concert a few years ago down at the Fox with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we seen a whole bunch of people. We said, yeah, there's a lot of young people in here. So I'm like, but they knew Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm like, these folks weren't even born when Earth, Wind, and Fire came out. So what Maurice did, he took a symbol. And that symbol was the symbol for Jupiter, for those who are familiar with astrology. But Jupiter is associated with the number 3. Okay, so when you're talking about Jupiter, you're talking about the number 3 and vice versa. So what he started doing was putting a symbol on his album, on the album covers back then. If you go back and look at it, you see that symbol on every album cover. And so that's why Earth, Wind, and Fire became such great renown, because of their power. Now Jupiter is the planet that's the largest planet in our solar system. Okay? Saturn is next, but Jupiter is the largest one. So Jupiter in the number 3 is going to have a very powerful effect on all of us this cycle, especially going through and dealing with our emotional energy. So if your emotional energy is a little bit out of whack, disabled or whatever, you probably need to come here and get some help. Okay? But don't walk around knowing you're out of control, but thinking like you're in control. Okay? Because number 3, real quick, can come up on you and put you in a state of anxiety. You start having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, running out the grocery store, wondering what happened to me. You know, all of that craziness that can happen. And I'm not saying anyone's crazy, but I'm saying is that this energy can impact us all. Okay? And it can impact us in a way which can be creative, or it can impact us in a way that can be self-destructive. Okay? And so you really want to tap into your creative energy. Now, all of us will have opportunities this cycle to utilize whatever creative idea, imaginative idea that we have about furthering our aims, our wishes, and our ambitions. Okay? But don't sit on them. This is not a time to sit and to talk. One of the worst things is to sit and just talk your way through 2019. You got to really apply something and do something. You know, I remember one time my son was playing football with Tennessee State University, and so the coach put him on the bench. And I said, well, Rashawn, why did the coach put you on the bench? He said, man, I was just out there and I wasn't hitting nobody. I said, you got to do something. If you're going to be out there, you got to do something. And that's what I'm saying about this year. If we're going to be living, we got to do something. Okay, because the biggest cycles of change by 2020, 2021, it's coming. And it's very real. I know each and every one of you can feel it. Okay? You know, the regentrification that's happening in every city. Brother here and I, we were just talking about before, it just seems like tens and thousands of people just being moved. What happened to them? It seems like they just vanished. You know, Baba Dick Gregory told us this when the whole thing with Katrina went down. Okay? So it's very real. We got to use the power of our imagination. We got to go back into our dream time. And what I mean by dream time is that the number 3, as I said earlier, is a number that deals with plurality. Okay, it's multi-consciousness, meaning that I know something, everybody in this room gonna know it. I see something, everybody's gonna see it, or vice versa. Somebody in the audience see it, everybody's gonna see it. So we got to get back to that dream time. Okay, now I know what the plan's for, and please be mindful of this. They got a thing out called now, and Atlanta was one of the premier test cities, and they call it 5G technology. Well, when you deal with the numerology, we know 5 is 5. G, 7th letter, which has a vibration of the number 7. 5 plus 7 is what? 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So why are they coming out with the heavy 5G technology in a year that vibrates to this emblem here? Because they know how vibrations work. They know the power of the written word, and they know the power of vibrations. They know that they will best achieve whatever agenda that they have when you instituted right along with the vibrational cycle, year, whatever that you are in. And these are the things that we have to start doing. We have to start doing the right thing at the right time. Many of you probably have very good ideas, but if you didn't implement it at the right time, or as the Bible would say, in the right season, you didn't meet with a whole lot of good results. Okay? And so familiarity with the numbers, okay? Just become familiar. You don't have to be a numerologist like me. Just become familiar with the numbers. I know a lot of people call and text me, say, oh man, I haven't seen this number. What that mean? I do as best I can to answer everybody, but I'm saying, y'all got to know this stuff just like I do. Because as things move along, you're going to be able to really, really help your loved ones, especially our children, our youth. Okay? So, the 5G technology, the number 3, the power of the word, the power of manifestation. We know we're dealing with the fire element. We know we're dealing with an emotional year. We know what we need to do in terms of detoxing our liver this year. And I'm saying it for everybody.
Right.
Okay? The detoxification of your liver.
Right.
Okay? I know everyone here knows about herbs and what you can do and so forth and so on in order to detox your liver. Go ahead and do it. Don't play around. Don't wait. Now, the most important thing is what we call the first, there's a particular cycle. You have cycles within cycles, okay? This year is the major cycle, but you have lesser cycles. And I'm going to get into the monthly cycles and break that down for you. But from January 1st till February 22nd, please notate this. There's a particular cycle which is known as the cycle of opportunity.
February 1st
From January 1st to February 22nd, it's called the cycle of opportunity. And in this cycle of opportunity, and I'm going to put this in before I explain it. See, the people in the corporate world, they know how this works, and they institute it. Now, they change the language with it. They just change it all up on us. And unless you know it, they have you thinking that they're experts at what they do. But they're instituting our knowledge, okay? This cycle of opportunity, all you got to do, especially through the power of your words, is start saying, telling your ancestors, telling yourself, this is what I want to achieve for 2019. For those first 52 days. Do it consistently. Every day is better if you can. And you're going to see a lot of positive results. Okay, now, we are back, and we're going to talk about the effects of the number 3 and what it will have, what kind of impact that it's going to have on year 2019. Now, number 3, as I said earlier, deals with the creative arts. It also deals with the entertainment business and celebrities or famous people. So we're going to see, even though famous people, their names are always in the news more regularly than other people, but we're going to see that more and more and more. So there's going to be a lot of controversy, a lot of talk, a lot of things are just going to come up about famous celebrities and what they have done. There's a lot of famous people that are doing some very positive things, but we're not hearing that. So what we're going to hear is, I call it the gut bucket kind of information and news. You know, even though the president has all said that this whole thing is fake news anyway, we're going to have to look at it more differently and understand the cycle that we are in. Now, one of the things that I listed was money. What does the money situation look like for 2019? The money situation there are, in numerology, there are what we call 3 money numbers. Those money numbers are 5, 6, and 8. Okay? So anybody who has birthdays that add up to a 5, like if they're born on the 14th or the 23rd or a 6 or 8, if they add up to those numbers, they are pretty fortunate with money. Now, with the number 3 is not a money number, but it's very fortunate with money, meaning that money can be made or it can materialize very quickly. Okay, so this year actually is a good year to make money when you put your creative ideas to work. Don't listen to what the news is saying about how bad this is, how bad that is. We have got to do our thing. We have got to know that money can be made this cycle, and you can be very fortunate with making money very quickly. Now, the drawback with the number 3, there is a tendency, oftentimes, if you're not on a budget, to overspend. Okay? And you really don't want to bust your budget, because after we leave out of this cycle, when we go into the next cycle, which is 2020, that's the number 4 vibration, and that's the number that deals with debt. Okay, 2020. Now, I want everybody to hold their thought for a moment, because I'm going to go right back, but I want to show you something. And this is what I want to show you. The United States of America and all of its leading corporate enterprises and entities, they don't follow fiscally on the calendar of January to December.
Right.
When does the fiscal year start? October 1st. Now, on October 1st, we want to find out what the fiscal year, the vibration for the fiscal year of 2019. You got to go back to October 1 of 2018 and add these numbers. So what we do in numerology, we take the 10, which is the 10th month, the 1st, which is the first day in the year 2018, and I add these numbers vertically, okay? Vertically and then horizontally. And what we do is 10 plus 1 plus 2018, okay? And that gives us this number, 2029. 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 9 is 13. 13 reduced becomes the number 4. 1 plus 3 and 13 equals 4. 4 is the number of debt. That's why there's a government shutdown right now. They telling you Trump this and Trump that. No, they ain't got no money. That's what the real deal is. Okay? See, they got to borrow money from the 13 families. Okay? And what did I just show you there? 13. So they got to go back and negotiate and borrow the money from the 13 families. And then you have a system of government that's based on 3. What are the 3 branches of the government? Executive, judicial, and legislative. See, they're utilizing the number of vibrations we utilize to set up this whole system of government. But they're not utilizing it in a righteous, correct way. It's corrupt. And so whenever you corrupt the vibrations, then your manifestation is going to be corrupt. Okay? So that's the real reason why we're in this cycle of the number 4, which represents debt. Okay? They're having to privately and secretly, okay, do what they call the Chapter 13, which is what? Debt reconstruction. That's what's really going on. That's the mystery and the secret behind all of this that they're not going to tell you publicly. They're going to tell you everything but that. So that's what's going on. So, what I'm saying to each and every one of you, put yourself on a plan and a budget. Don't overspend. Of course, you got to pay rent, mortgage, whatever, clothes, shoes, everything, that. But don't put yourself on a budget this year. Because you don't want to fall prey or be a victim of these folks. Because see, these folks, they want to remain in control. But I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that, but I just want to enter that so you can understand what are the hidden numbers or the hidden powers. Because what they do is based on the number vibrations. They know that their success comes through understanding the power in the numbers. Although I say that they use it in a corrupted way, they still utilize it. Okay? So the fiscal year is a 4 vibration. Now, there are certain cultures around the world, particularly the Chinese culture, when they see number 4, they step back. They don't get involved. Like Chinese people, when they come here, they buy property, land, this thing. Anything that involves a number 4, they don't touch it. Because they know that it's a problem when you're dealing financially with the energy of the number 4. In dealing with the number 4, you have to be well organized. Okay? So if you have a business, a place, a home, or address that adds up to number 4, you want to put everything in order. Everything. You may not think that it has a bearing, but it will have a bearing. Example, if you're living in a home and it adds up to number 4 and everything is in disarray, don't expect any kind of prosperity to come into your home. It's not going to happen. You got to put it in order. Okay? And what the number 4 is telling us, in a positive note, we have got to put ourselves in order. Okay? Because when 2021, we're going to see a whole lot of changes happen. But if you haven't put yourself in order, then you're not going to be able to benefit from the mass changes that are going to take place in the society that we live in. Okay? So, we're in the number 3 as a calendar year, but keep in mind, keep in the back of your mind that number 4, financially, in terms of dealing with the money, okay, we're dealing with the energy of the number 4. So you're going to have to watch your spending and put things in its proper perspective in place. Okay? Whatever needs to be taken care of, take care of the things that will sustain your way and comfort of life. Okay? But do not, if you can, do not put yourself in a whole lot of additional type of debt. Okay? Because see, this whole system is based upon what they call debt management. The masses of the people. They control the masses. They control 90% of the world population is controlled through debt management. Okay? So watch out. I'm not saying not to spend. I'm just saying watch out for excessive, unnecessary type of spending. Now, with this being a number 3, of course, the advertisers are going to want you to spend. So they're going to be throwing all kinds of devices at you to get you to spend. When you check with the stock market, if you're listening to the stock market and if they say spending is low, that's an indication that 2020 is going to be a tough year for everybody. 4 is the number of preparation. 4 is the number of foreknowledge. F-O-R-E says a play on words. F-O-R-E and F-O-U-R. It's a play on words. This is the magical language that we use. Okay, the English language. All right? So you want to have foreknowledge of whatever you're going into. You want to know the cost of everything. If you got to go to the doctor starts saying, well, you need to get this, you need to get that. Yes, doc, who's going to pay for all this? Okay? Because insurance companies will say, well, we're only paying for this, this, and that. You want to have foreknowledge. You want to have things laid out beforehand. Don't go on anybody's word. Okay? You got to have a plan in your hand when it comes to your financial status and position in this world in 2019. Okay? Especially here in America. And so October 2018 until the end of September 2019. That's the fiscal year. And that fiscal year number is 4. Okay? Now, how did I know that this government is secretly going through a restructure? Well, the number 13 is a number of restructuring, transformation, transmutation. Okay. That's how I know. The numbers, when you study the numbers and you know the language of the number vibrations in numerology, it tells you exactly what's going on. Okay? So with your businesses, keep your business tight. Okay? No excess spending. Okay? Keep it tight. Okay? So that's what I wanted to bring out about the money. Now remember, keep in mind, the money can be made. So don't lose sight of that. But understand, you gotta have a plan. Now, in the year of 2019, we're going to experience a need to express ourselves. Now, as I was telling a few people during the break, this is not a time to be holding stuff in. Okay? Be walking around like a powder keg, with a whole lot of pent up energy. You gotta come here, get some healing. You gotta talk to someone. You gotta let all that stuff go. You can't be walking around with it pent up because it's gonna affect you. It's gonna affect you health-wise. Okay. So much here. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna give you some dates. Share some dates with you. Okay. We're talking about the emotional periods based on the number 3 so that you'll know. Because when the energy hit, you're going to know. You're going to say, oh man, that brother told me, I didn't listen. But I got here emotional dates, meaning that you're going to feel a little bit more emotional tension. Okay? And that's going to be on the 2nd, the 11th. And these are going to be for any month now, okay? 29th, 3rd, 12th, 21st, 30th, 6th, 15th, 24th, and the 9th, 18th, and 27th. Okay. Those dates of any month, that's when the emotional tension out here in this world is going to be strong. Okay. All right. I got the 2nd, the 11th, the 20th, and the 29th.
Okay.
All right.
Third.
The 3rd, the 12th, 21st, 30th, the 6th, the 15th, the 24th, the 9th, the 18th, and the 27th of any month this year of 2019. Okay? Now, those are the dates. Now I'm going to give you the days of the week. Okay? The days of the week are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, okay, and Friday. Those are your emotional days of each and every week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Those are your emotional days. Now, when people are very emotional, one of the things that I notice, especially with this number 3, they drive real erratic and crazy out there on the interstate, in the roads. Now, we got a particular interstate that flows through Atlanta. I-75. 7 and 5 equals what? 12, which equals 3. So be careful, y'all, when you're traveling on I-75 and watch the erratic behavior of people. Because if your emotions are not intact, people become scattered and they become very erratic. They become very despondent. A lot of anxiety can build up very quickly. Anxiety and frustration. Okay. Okay, so we got the emotional days. Now the emotions which are tied to the number 3 are anger, joy, happiness, grandeur, anxiety, panic. Okay? Now, the more emotional months are going to be March, because March is the 3rd month. Okay? And then the next one is December, because December is the 12th month, and 1 plus 2 once again equals 3. So you get to March, and it's the 12th. Okay, you got that's a lot of emotional energy that's out there. Okay. All right, so pay attention. Just you know what? You really don't have to pay attention. This is already in y'all's consciousness. It's going to trigger. It's going to trigger. Something's going to tell you, say, I may need to go another way today. Okay? So, now, we're going to get into some more numerology. You got the dates. Everybody got the dates? And I'm going to show you something else.
While he's erasing,
Huh?
did anyone else need a separate part to put your questions on?
Okay, we'll go through this quick and we get to the questions. Now, in numerology, you can find out real specifically certain days which we call esoteric. And esoteric, all that means is hidden information, the hidden body of information that is found from within. We know that the year is a 3. Okay? Now, what we're getting ready to do, we're going to do some monthly vibrations. Let's put it here, monthly vibes. Let's say we want to know what the vibration for the month of January This is the year. This is the calendar month. Okay? The calendar month is a 1. All you do is you take the year in question, which is 3, add it to the month in question, which is January, which is a 1. We add them together. 3 plus 1, that's 4. 4, this month, is what we call the universal month vibration. Okay? So, we've already talked about the number 4. Now, the first month, whenever you find the universal month vibration in January, that sets the tone for the rest of the year. Like I said earlier, the tone is being set. You gotta prepare, you gotta watch your money. Okay? You gotta do things beforehand. You can't wait. Don't sit back. 4 says that whatever you want to achieve, you gotta put some more effort. Now I told you about the number 3 and all that creative energy and imagination that we all have, but it don't mean anything unless we put it to work. We gotta put it to work. We gotta make use of it. If we don't make use of it, then nothing materializes. Okay? So that's the tone that's out there. So people who are running their mouth all the time and bumping their gums, as my grandmother used to say, it don't mean anything. Okay? This is a time, this is a cycle we can make things materialize. Because the tone has been set for us to do that. Okay? So 4 is the universal, that's the hidden, that's the esoteric vibration. You wouldn't know it's a 4 unless you did this calculation deduction. Delineation rather. And when you want to find out about next month, all you do is take the 3, add the 2 for February, you know it's 5. Okay? Now, I'll give you a little bit of explanation about February. February is number 5. 5 is known as the number of change. Okay? Whatever needs to change will change with the number 5. Okay? 5 forces you to be more flexible. You have to be very flexible when you're dealing with the energy and the vibration of the number 5. 5 is the number that deals with the motion and movement of air. 5 is the number that deals with thought. Okay? So you're going to have a coupling of thought and emotions. Thought and emotions. So you may be going back and forth between your thought and your emotions. Okay? But 5 also is the number of balance. So you got to be able to balance your thoughts and your emotions. Okay? Now, the strongest days in February are going to be those days which add up to this number. So we're looking at the 5th, 14th, and 23rd. All right? Those are good days. Those are really positive days and affirmative days to do things or to make the changes or the necessary changes that may need to be done. Now, the number 5 is a good number because the number 5 is the only number that is capable of attracting and dealing with all of the other 9 numbers. Okay, number 5. Okay, so everybody got that? So these are the first 2 months that I gave you are what we call the universal month vibrations, and those are vibrations that you want to know about. And I'm gonna go through the next few And y'all keep me on the timer because I started talking. And I don't want to keep you out here at 12 o'clock.
Well, the quarter after.
Okay. We know it's the number 3, okay, for the year. Then we're going to do the 3rd month, which is March. Okay? So 3 and 3 equals 6. So 6 is the universal month. Now 6 is a number which says that you need to guard and protect your health. Especially the lungs. Because 6 is a number that deals with air. Okay? But it's also going to be important too that you do a lot of breathing. Make sure that each and every one of you are breathing. Don't be shallow breathing. Make sure that you take full breaths. You come here and do some yoga with the sisters and learn how to do the breath. Okay? So doing the breathing is really necessary and watching your health. If you're scheduled to do have a physical for 2019, this month will be a good month to get a physical done. There may be a whole lot of people at the doctor. It'll be a good month. It'll be a good month to do that. Okay? You'll find with the number 6, that's the number that deals with the family. So if there's any family issues, problems, births, so on, it's going to come up with the number 6. Okay? So, does everybody have, because we don't have enough time for me to go through all the months. But everybody got an idea about how to do the universal month by month? And a book that I recommend to get if you want to know about the numbers and what they mean and represent is Brother Lloyd Strayhorn. He's got a book out entitled Numbers in You. He's a brother out of Harlem. He's been doing numerology longer than I have, and highly recommend this book. And you can get the book at Medu Bookstore over at Greenbrier. I think the book now is like, you can get it like $6.95. It's not an expensive book, paperback.
Brother Lovell, would you get a volunteer and just do their number from their birth?
Okay.
Just so everyone understands.
Okay.
And volunteer for that.
Okay then. Do that real quickly.
Anybody got any questions we'd like to address you on the index?
Oh, you want to be volunteer?
Yeah.
Okay then. All right. What I would need is your month you were born. November? Okay, so that's the 11th month, so we're going to use the 11th. And then the day?
26.
The 26th. And then the year that you were born?
67.
1967. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to add vertically, then we're going to add horizontal. This is the correct way to find out what we are getting ready to do with Earth. And that's called your life path number. And this is a very important number to know about yourself because this number, this vibration stays with you your entire life. Now, we're going to add down vertically. So what we're going to do is like column addition that we learned in grade school. So 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. Okay? Then we're going to carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. We'll put the 0 there, carry the next one. 1 plus 9 is 10. We'll put the 0 there. We'll carry the 1. Then 1 plus 1 is 2. All right? And we come up with this number, 2004. Then we're going to horizontally then add the numbers. 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 0 is 2, plus 4 is 6. So 6 is her life path number. What I can say about the young lady, young sister here, is that she's a person that is a great giver to people and humanity. She is also a person who protects a lot of people She has a very strong focus about family members. She could do very well going into the healing arts, or if she wanted to be a professional, like as a nurse, a doctor, a physician, anything that's tied with medicine, counseling, psychology, she would excel in. Okay? Now, the great thing about her having the number 6, do you live in Atlanta?
I do.
Okay. Atlanta has the vibration of the number 6. So that's one of the reasons why you're here. Okay? Because we draw to the vibrations by which we have. Okay? We'll take one more person.
My birthday tomorrow is important.
Oh, yeah.
That cheer says that y'all accept my
Okay. All right.
1978.
Okay, yeah, a date,
January. Oh, the month January
January
11th, 1978.
1978. All right, happy birthday, baby. So we're gonna vertical addition, then horizontal. 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 8 is 10. We're gonna carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 7, that's 9. Okay? I'm gonna bring this down, that's another 9. Bring this 1 down, that's a 1. Then we're gonna horizontally add the numbers. 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 plus 9 is 19. 19 plus 0 is 19. And this is gonna be a 3-step process. 1 plus 9 equals 10. Okay, then we're going to further reduce. 1 plus 0 equals 1. Now, I can tell you that she's living her life path or destiny. You know why? Because she's a business owner. And people who have the number 1 are leaders in the community because they are what? They are business owners. People who have the number 1, I'll throw this in, they really don't like being told what to do. They prefer to do it themselves. They want to be the person who calls the shots, makes the decisions. Okay? So sister, you are living what you are supposed to do. And when you're living what you're supposed to do, then that's how you're going to prosper in this world. It's when we are going against ourselves unknowingly, that's when we have all kind of hardships, setbacks, delays, and we wonder why things are not positively happening for us. But you're a person who's a pioneer, you're a person who doesn't mind taking a risk, and you're a person who will take risk, who will make decisions when other people are afraid to do it. You go ahead and do it. You have no hesitations. The worst thing that you could ever have done with your life is to procrastinate about it. Once that thought, because see, a lot of thoughts come into your head, which are very good ideas, and then you need to further those ideas with going ahead and doing it. Okay? So I salute you. Salute both of you.
Happy
birthday to you.
Happy birthday. And then also too, you know, the date that a person is born on tells a lot too. She's an 11. She has the number 11, okay? And people who are born with the number 11, they have what we call a master number. So she has a master vibration or a master tendencies to do things. Whatever she does, she wants to be the best at what she does, or capable of doing it. And so you're here to master certain things. You're here to master certain of your qualities, your gifts, your abilities, and to make a mark, a deep mark on society. Okay, what you're doing. Continue on, don't stop. All right?
What are some of the other master numbers?
Some of the other master numbers are 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, and 99. Now, I'm going to tell you something. there's some folks out here, there's some of our folks out here, they walk around with some heavy duty vibes. I'm just gonna say that. And that's one of my enjoyments of doing numerology, because I can look at them and tell them, look, you walking around with this sister, you walking around with this brother, you need to get to doing something. Because when you have these kind of vibrations, if you don't do what you've been given, okay, there's a tendency for there to be a whole lot of disruptions and tensions in a person's life. Because you came here to do something on this planet. Very powerful, okay? And there's a lot of our youth walking around, man, with these heavy duty vibrations, man. And that's why, they have difficulties and problems with the educational system, because the educational system is not prepared to deal with anybody that's got them vibrations, man. They're not. I once said, give me $10 million and I'll teach 100 people, and we go out in the world and we set this world on fire. Okay? Because that's what we need out here. We can no longer afford to hold our children back. And that's what we're doing.
We're going to take just 2 questions from the audience. I'll read one,
Okay.
the board will read one. We'll have one about the number 3 reconciliation. Do you think the government will reconcile or unify?
Do I think the government will?
Reconcile or unify?
Well, we got to understand that what we think is the government is not the government, and that happened February 24th, 1871. The government, the sovereign government that was established on July 14th, 1776, actually was subverted on February 21st, 1871. So we are under actually a de facto, what they call democracy. And so if there's going to be any reconciliation, then there needs to be honesty and integrity brought back so that people will recognize and know that we are a sovereign nation. See, you have the United States of America, the Republic, the United States, and the U.S., they are 3 different entities. Okay? And then you got another one called US.com. Oh yeah, they all registered at the state of Delaware as corporations. They have a Dun & Bradstreet number and everything. Okay, so they're a corporation. So what we are under now is a de facto government, which is nothing more than an administrative corporation. They're saying that they're handling business. Because Benjamin Banneker set up the whole science of government using numerology and astrology.
That's right.
Okay? So I don't give that brother no credit.
No pressure.
0. Unless we bring it up, his name is not even mentioned.
Okay, our next question, Mr. Rowser. What can you say in this little time about the dark side or the shadow side of our numbers?
Okay, there is a utilization of the shadow and dark side of the numbers. I see daily how it's utilized. See, each and every number carries with it a color and a sound. And if you invert that sound or invert that color, okay, or reverse it, then you can make it and use it for evil intent. Okay. This year, specifically with the number 3, the promotion of what I call garbage type of music will be the inversion. That's why I said earlier that we got to take control and put out that music that's going to re-inspire us. Okay, that's the power that we have. And there's a few musicians I know in Atlanta. I know quite a few musicians, so they're working and they're putting together some things. It may not be like the 60s and 70s, but if you search and find for these folks and these gatherings and so forth, you'll be able to we'll be able to re-articulate what we're capable of doing. One of the things that's interesting is that the whole notion of the drum and not being able to perform the drum in public is still on the laws, it's still on the books. A lot of people don't know that.
That's a law.
Yeah, it's a law against playing the drums at certain times. They're laws. And so that's why we don't see it or hear about it as much. That's why they have our younger people, instead of becoming masters with their craft and with the instruments, they got them on computer and tech, which is fine, but you can tell the difference and you can tell the effect that it has on your nervous system. Okay? Different brothers and sisters from like the Cameroon and West Africa and Mali and Ghana and Nigeria, they all tell you have to go back out into the bush and you literally have to commune with nature, make your own instrument, and go before the community, the village, before you even allowed to play one note. Okay? See, these numbers are tied into the musical notations. Bach and Beethoven and them cats. Well, Beethoven and them, they was all brothers anyway. But they tapped it or mixed parentage. But they knew this. Okay, and so when you're dealing with the crazy discordant music, it's going to cause some craziness in people, especially when they're driving cars. Okay. Next question. I hope I answered that question.
Well, we want to honor everyone's time.
Okay.
And we want to thank you so much, Brother Lovell, for
Okay.
being here this evening. Let's give him a round of applause. And I'd like for those who are interested in having a one-on-one session with him to feel free to get his information. Here's his flyer, his email address, and Facebook contact. And we just thank you so much for coming out tonight. We are having another event next month. It's for practitioners to do an exchange. Here we're shifting into this new year, this new energy, this new paradigm, and the healers need healing. So we're having an event next month that will allow practitioners to come in and exchange energy, work with each other.
Okay. Thank you all.
Once again, it's on the February 24th. It's on a Sunday afternoon from 2 to 6.
And 2 to 4 has the
3 to 6.
That's that healing number.
It's going to be 3 to 6.
3 to 6.
Yes.
We'll change that.
Yes.
No, but you said it's 20 to 24.
The 24th.
Yes, it's 6. You're right.
It's the 6. Absolutely. I wanted to just add one thing for Lovell, because I've been studying at his feet for quite some time. But even with the energy of the number 3, support your nervous system. Make sure we support our nervous system. And make sure we also do the vitamin D3.
D3.
Because the sun hasn't been shining, which has been done purposefully for us to keep us from regenerating. So keep those kinds of things in mind as you matriculate through the months. Okay? All right, I'm gonna pass these
And
out.
thank you again, Noni, for allowing us to use
Yes,
your
sister.
space. In the cards, you know what the core is offering here every day of the week. The services, the facility is open and available to the community. Sis, you had a question?
I was just gonna say, D3 is good for the nervous system to support it. Magnesium is good, and vitamin B complex is good. Support your nervous system.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And everyone, please get home safely this evening. Especially those going on I-75.